Good morning. Hello to everyone here in person in this sanctuary and those of you online. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Vero Beach, or as we call it, UUFVB. My name is Rebecca Brack, and I'm very glad you've decided to join us today. My pronouns are she, her. I have long brown hair that's sometimes wavy. I'm wearing a white and blue dress, and the reason I describe myself to you is so that anyone with visual or just listening to the service can get an idea of who I am. This has been my UU home for at least 14 years now, and I've been a UU all my life, and I can't imagine being anything else. Please, after the service, if you would like to join us, follow the crowd to the fellowship hall where coffee is our sacrament. If you are, it is. I don't know any other meaning of it that. If you are a visitor, please take a red cup so that we can make a special effort to greet you. At this time, I ask that you please silence your phone because you don't want to be that person. I'd also like to direct you to your order of service for just a second. On the front, I want to bring attention one of the announcements. There's going to be a yard sale this Saturday, as well as a bake sale. You're able to drop off your items throughout the week. There's sign-up sheets for volunteers, and see Patty Walker for questions. The sign-up sheet's going to be on the rolling rack. And now, let our service begin.
Religion, culture, creed, and race, each human spirit and each face, we celebrate, we dance and sing, the talents here each one might bring. A people stand, a people fall, some gather here and welcome all. Diversify and celebrate that hopelessness is not our fate.
It is our tradition to light a chalice at the beginning of our services. Please join me in saying the chalice lighting words. As we light this flame of hope, may our congregation become a kaleidoscope of souls and people. In the presence of this flame, in me, in you, in us, is an invitation to sit at the table. May we tend our soul flame through the challenges and trying times to open the hearts and minds of all who enter our doors.
Please join us in our opening hymn, number 323, Break Not the Circle, verses 1 and 3. Rise as you are willing and able.
Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not
Ramadan begins at the end of this month, February 28th. Ramadan is a holy time for Muslims during which they don't eat any food or drink any water from sunup to sundown. Every day for a month, they break the fast with a large meal at the end of the day, often shared with friends and family. One reason for this fasting is to develop empathy for people who are hungry because they have no food. Giving charity is an important part of Islam, one of its 5 pillars, and is an important part of Ramadan. The main character in the story is Mullah Nasruddin. A mullah is a Muslim religious teacher or leader. Mullah Nasruddin had been working in the fields all day long. He was tired and sweaty, and his clothes and shoes were covered with mud and stains. Because he had been fasting all day long for Ramadan, he was also quite hungry. But finally, it was almost sundown, and Nasruddin knew that he would soon be able to eat. The wealthiest man in town had invited everyone to come break their fast in his home that evening with a huge feast. Nasruddin knew that he would be late if he went home to change his clothes before heading into town. He decided it was better to arrive in dirty clothes than to be late. Oh, what a party it would be! What a feast! As he walked to the wealthy man's home, Nasruddin imagined the delicious foods that he would soon be eating. Dates, lentils, and chickpeas, olives and bread, hummus, falafel, chicken and beef, and best of all, the desserts. Halava, date rolls, figs, and my favorite, baklava. 2 pages. When Nasruddin arrived, the wealthy man opened the door and looked Nasruddin up and down scornfully, from his worn and ragged clothes down to his muddy shoes. Without a word of welcome, he suggested for Nasruddin to come in and walked away abruptly. Nasruddin joined the throngs of people who were all dressed up in their finest clothing. The tables were laden with all sorts of delicious foods: dates, lentils, and chickpeas, olives and bread, hummus, falafel, chicken and beef, and best of all, the desserts: halava, date rolls, figs, and baklava. Despite his efforts to hurry, the seats were all taken and nobody tried to move over or make a space for Nasruddin. In fact, nobody offered him food. He had to reach over and around people to get any food for his plate. Nobody spoke to him. It was as if he wasn't even there. The other guests ignored him so completely that Nasruddin could not enjoy the food on his plate, no matter how finely prepared and how tasty it was. In fact, after only a few bites, Nasruddin was so uncomfortable that he decided to leave. He hurried home and changed into his finest clothing, including a beautiful coat. Nasruddin returned to the feast, and this time the host welcomed him with a huge smile. Come in, greeted the host. As Nasruddin entered, people waved and called to him from all corners of the room as they invited him to sit near them and offered him food. Nasruddin sat down quietly, picking up a plum fig. He carefully placed it into a coat pocket, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." Next, he took a handful of nuts and put them into the pocket, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." Now he began to feed his coat. He fed the coat lentils and chickpeas, olives and bread, hummus, falafel, chicken and beef, all the best, all the desserts: the halava, the date rolls, the figs, and the baklava. Nasruddin became silent as they watched, or the people around Nasruddin became silent as they watched this strange behavior. Soon everyone was staring at Nasruddin, wondering what he was doing. The host hurried over. "Nasruddin, whatever are you doing? Why are you feeding your coat in this manner?" "Well," replied Nasruddin, "when I first came to this feast in my old farming clothes, I was not welcome, so no one would speak to me. But when I changed into this coat, suddenly I was greeted warmly. So I realized it was not me that was welcomed at the party, but my clothing. And so I am feeding my coat." Now please join us as we sing the children to their classes.
I invite you for a moment to look around, see who's here. See if there are people you know, people you don't know, maybe know a little bit, maybe not, maybe you wondered about them, I don't know. Regardless, I invite you to build community by going around and greeting one another. Let's build the community today. Good morning. Howdy, 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 howdy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I got you.
It's pretty much an open book, you know.
Fabulous, fabulous. All right. You know, it's really hard to stop Unitarians from talking, but, you know, it's okay. But this, right now, this is a time in our service when we acknowledge that we come together with our own joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. Before me is water in these bowls, the very sustenance of life. Water can buoy you up, nourish, cleanse, and replenish you. It is the source of life, which creates beauty in the very making of tears. This community, like water, is the very sustenance of one another's lives, especially when you remember our sacred obligation to buoy each other up in times of sadness, to nourish one another in times of want, to cleanse one another with acts of kindness and generosity, and to replenish one another when our hearts are weary and worn. Today, with this water, I remind us visually of our sacred obligation to the greater whole. I add salt for the tears that have fallen this week. May we remember that there are those among us in pain. So let us be tender with one another, for we know not what is held in the silent sanctuary of one another's hearts. And I add some flowers to remind us of the beauty and joy that surrounds us in our lives, that floats on the surface of many of our faces and enlivens our spirits. In a moment, I will invite those of you who find it meaningful to come forward and place pebbles in the collective bowl. But if you would like me to add a stone for you, please raise your hand at this time and I will do so. Now, if you wish, please come forward. may all that we offer one another keep us connected and blessed within this hour and within the week ahead. May it be so. Amen.
At this time in our service, we express our gratitude and and our commitment by sharing our financial resources. On most Sundays, our offering is shared with the worthy local organizations that assist those that are underserved. But on the first Sunday of the month, like today, Groundhog Day, all the offering goes to support the good, vital work we do here at the fellowship, such as social justice groups working hard for reproductive justice, anti-racism, to support the LGBTQ community, or to provide quality worship, adult and children's enrichment, and education, to provide community events like storytelling, potlucks, and coffee hour, to provide programming for the community, music, speakers, art, all of that. Please, at this time, place your offering in, well, actually, you don't have to place it in the envelope because all of it is going in the basket. So save the envelopes. And you can also donate using the QR code. As we now receive the offering, let's do so generously and gratefully.
Now let us move into a time of prayer or meditation. The following meditation was written by Jan Richardson, who is an artist, a writer, and ordained minister in the United Methodist Church. Each of us has our own way to enter this space. You might take a deep breath. Let your eyelids rest or close. Perhaps clasp your hands or set them gently in your lap. And turn your attention within yourself. You hardly knew how hungry you were to be gathered in, to receive the welcome that invited you to enter entirely. Nothing of you found foreign or strange, nothing of your life that you were asked to leave behind or to carry in silence or shame. You took tentative steps as you settled in, leaning in to the blessing that enfolded you, taking your place in the circle that stunned you with unimagined grace. You began to breathe again, to move without fear, to speak with abandon the words you carried in your bones that echoed in your being. You learned to sing, but the deal with this blessing is that it will not leave you alone, will not let you linger in safety and stasis. The time will come when this blessing will ask you to leave, not because it is tired of you, but because it desires you to become the sanctuary that you found. To speak your word into the world, to tell what you have heard with your own ears, seen with your own eyes, known in your heart. That you, yes, you, are beloved, precious, beautiful, and you are welcome. And more than welcome here. Amen.
Look at my skin. Do you see only skin or the soul within? Do you see what's true? And look who I love. Do you view me as less, like none of the rest of me matters to you? and the voices who seem to just care about dividing and hiding us where you don't see.
Look at my faith. Do you see my creed and choose to believe that's all of me? Look at my vote. On that alone, are you likely to show contempt for me? Turn off the talk on the air and the voices who seem to just care about dividing and hiding us where
You won't see.
you don't have to see. But if you take some time to look at me, you'll see the same fears
And a good heart.
and the same tears that tear you apart.
See the same love, the same hope.
The same need, the same joy, the same love, the same hope, the same need, the same joy. So look at my skin, see the skin and the soul within, see what's true, and look at my love. See my faith and my vote, but not those alone to know me too. Turn up the voices of truth.
Learn to have mercy through.
Love will guide us to a world where we see.
Will you
See all of me. Turn and see.
all of you?
Turn and see. Turn and see.
That was fantastic. Okay, before I get started, let me assure you that I am not threatening our 501c3 nonprofit status this morning. I'm not talking about a candidate or advocating for a particular party. I have been hesitant to actually talk or even say the word President Trump from the pulpit for a few reasons. I want to talk about policy, not political parties. I want to focus on issues that I or some of you feel passionate about, not political figures. And I just don't want to give Trump airtime, to be honest. We hear about him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week already. But Between canceling diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI programs across the government, and his divisive, combative tone after the crash of an American Airlines flight at a military hospital, when he could have chosen to offer comfort or take the opportunity to see how we might come together to support one another in this tragedy. Instead, he blamed the crash on DEI programs. I just can't be quiet anymore. This behavior, and it is behavior, it's not him as a person. His behavior is bizarre, divisive, unconscionable, and it completely lacks any sense of compassion, comfort, or empathy. That feels much better. Not only did I want to speak about diversity and inclusion today, but as usual, I chose a title to put on the wayside pulpits out there that could not easily be ignored by passersby. In fact, because of our sign out there, diversity and inclusion, a man came into our office this week, asked if we would be one of the places that provided brochures in Spanish for immigrants who want to know their legal rights if they're confronted by ICE. So what do? I gave it to Jack. And he has them right there in his hand. Look at that. I want this conversation about diversity and equity to not only be between us here in this congregation, but also between members of the larger community in Indian River County. I believe that putting on our signs diversity and inclusion, people will see it. Maybe they'll talk about it. Maybe they'll think about it. I'm going to share with you a quote that I got on Facebook. It was off one of my friends' Facebook pages this week. I don't know the author. It said, "I don't think everyone knows what DEI is. It includes your disabled neighbor that can only work 4 days a week, the Down syndrome bagger at Kroger or Publix that greets you with a smile every time you come in, the autistic barista at Starbucks that always makes sure your drink is correct and remembers your daily order without a beat. It includes veterans. It includes your pregnant friend that would have to take FMLA for bed rest or have to have accommodations for her job while she saves for her first child. It's not just about ethnicity. It's about making sure everyone has an equal opportunity to work without being discriminated against." And then the first comment that was below this Facebook quote said, "It also includes every woman and everyone except wealthy white males." I could go on talking about things like which companies are canceling their DEI programs, Target, Walmart, Amazon, Austin Coors, or like which companies defend their DEI programs at Costco, Apple, Delta Airlines. Giant corporations are difficult to impact, I know. But I think we still are called to add our voices to those defending DEI. And we can also abstain from using the services of those canceling their DEI programs and instead support with our money those who are defending DEI programs. What do you think? Yes, maybe? Would you consider researching your service providers, the ones you use regularly, Publix, for instance, or your airline that you use regularly, to see if they support DEI? And if you discover they don't, would you be willing to change? Good, excellent. How you respond when so here's another thing you need to just consider. How will you respond when someone says to you they are grateful for the cancellation of DEI programs at colleges, at the federal government, and in corporations? People say things to you like, blacks are taking away college openings for whites, or DEI encourages hiring unqualified candidates, or women are getting promotions faster than men due to quotas. How do you respond? You have a clear understanding of what DEI means so that you can respond meaningfully if you find yourself in one of those conversations. I don't encourage you to argue. That's not what I'm suggesting. But to engage in rational, fact-based dialogue with those who have different opinions. There we are. What is diversity and inclusion? Diversity is the presence of different characteristics among individuals, such as race, sex, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomic status, ability, and any different trait. Inclusion means creating a sense of belonging and actively engaging people from diverse backgrounds and making sure people feel valued and respected for their unique contributions. Inclusion is an action. Diversity is simply tolerating the others around you. Based on studies of diversity in the workplace, most employees support diversity, with overall sentiment on diversity 52% positive and 31% negative. There are clear correlations between diversity and business performance. An analysis of 2019 data shows that companies in the top quartile for gender diversity within executive teams were 25% more likely than other companies in the fourth quartile to have above average profitability. The greater the representation of gender diversity, the higher the likelihood of that particular company outperforming others. However, progress in building diverse workforces remains stubbornly low. And despite employees' support of diversity, there are high levels of negative sentiment on inclusion, namely equality, openness, and belonging, particularly around equality and fairness of opportunity. What do you think that inclusion might still, why do you think inclusion might still be an issue if diversity is less of an issue? All right, I want you to okay, we're looking at inclusion, change, action to make someone feel more part of the community. So let me ask you to feel what this feels like. Let's say a person who is a genderqueer person coming into our congregation asks you to refer to them with the pronoun they or ze. The next time you saw them, you use the pronoun she, and they ask you again to use their preferred pronoun they or ze. How do you feel? What would you do? Would you make kind of a joke about it, or would you make them somehow justify their choice of pronouns? Would you say something like, I don't call anyone else by that. You'll just have to deal with it. This is an issue of inclusion. You're being asked to make changes in your behavior so that they can feel more respected, so that they can eventually feel like they can belong here in this community. I know it's not easy to change behavior that's ingrained in you. I know it's not easy to change, period. To act some way that's out of the norm. Maybe that doesn't make sense to you. But my friends, we can do this for someone looking to belong here at UUFEB. Did you know that up until a few years ago, the people most hired for the position of district or regional lead for the UUA, our liberal denomination, were, what do you think? White, well-educated, healthy males, and most often ministers. The reason seemed logical. The ministers knew a lot about church community and governance and, well, Unitarian Universalism. Those hiring them said, they're a good fit. Yet, we aspire to be a denomination and congregations with people of other races and cultures and physical ability in positions of leadership. The UUA asked our congregations to consider hiring ministers who were differently abled, people of color, of various genders and sexual orientations. Yet there was an incongruity between what they did and what they asked everyone else to do. Less than 10 years ago, this came to a head when a Hispanic religious educator applied to the UUA for a regional lead position. She was one of 2 finalists. Guess who got the job? Not her. Yes, the white guy. But here's the thing. She didn't go quietly. She spoke out. She talked about the hiring process that reflected a hypocrisy when it comes to living out our principles and values. And change began to happen in our denomination, in our hiring practices. It was painful and hard. There were a lot of hurt feelings. In fact, there's still a lot of hurt feelings. But change began to happen. As a denomination, as congregations, we began to work on our understanding that people of color, people of different cultures, ethnicities, sexes, genders, abilities, bring unique gifts and talents and experience to the table. And that our denomination is enriched by empowering these people who aren't white men for leadership. I realize the title of the sermon is Diversity and Inclusion. But I wouldn't be giving you a complete picture if I didn't mention E in DEI. E is for equity. Equity is the practice of ensuring everyone has access to the same opportunities and resources needed to achieve success. Addressing systemic barriers and providing support where necessary to level the playing field. Making sure all people, no matter their difference, feel welcome. When someone reaches for equity, they're striving for a system and benefits for everyone, no matter their circumstance. Let me give you a visual. There it is. In our Western culture right now, there is significant inequity, unequal access to opportunities. If you're white, male, healthy, educated, wealthy, you have more opportunities. Notice the tree on the upper left. I'm not saying that manna falls from heaven for someone who is white, male, educated, and wealthy. For that guy's opportunities are more likely to materialize than the opportunities for someone who is of color, who isn't as well educated, isn't wealthy, healthy, or male. So what do we do to try and change that? One strategy is to provide equally distributed tools and resources. Look at the picture in the upper right. A little better, but still not nearly as many opportunities. An example of this might be when colleges first opened their admissions to people of color, way back. In the beginning, not many colleges provided the additional resources that made college truly accessible. Very few people of color attended college. Equity, on the other hand, offers customized tools that identify and address inequality. The image at the lower left. If you go back to the college example, for instance, how can you make college truly accessible to, say, a less affluent, less adequately educated, or person of color? The custom resources they might need could include additional financial resources, perhaps tutoring, additional counseling, and/or emotional support. In other words, DEI programs, to help them to capitalize on the opportunities that college affords them. Still, equity does not make opportunities completely the same for both the white, educated, wealthy male and those who are not. The final step beyond DEI is justice, the lower right. Fixing the systems to offer equal access to both tools and opportunities. Let me offer an example of how this works in our denomination right now. One is in the hiring process at the UUA. Hiring committees consider what gifts and talents and experience people other than white male ministers might bring to the table that might enrich our denomination. A big change. Another way is to fix the system is by offering significant resources to people of color to build UU communities. How many of you know what BLUE is? Black Lives Unitarian Universalist. A few years ago, the UUA Board of Trustees realized that resources that were promised to black UUs decades ago were never actually given. So the Board of Trustees followed through on those promised resources. This was a way of both offering reconciliation and of bringing new people into new Unitarian Universalism. But black UUs needed, shall we say, some customized resources. They needed coordinated support by other people of color who had been in the denomination for a while. They needed worship designed for and by black Unitarian Universalists. And they needed an expansion of their power and voice within our denomination, which led to another change in Unitarian Universalism. At General Assembly, for a number of years now, when business is being done, when votes and discussions are being held, marginalized people, including people of color, get the opportunity to speak first on any business item. That is systemic change. It might seem a little uncomfortable for white men like me, but I'm ready for systemic change. I'm ready for justice in our denomination, and I'm ready for us to walk our talk. Here's an image of how a beloved community might be structured. What do you notice at the center? Belonging. Belonging infers that an equitable structure is in place and functioning to make all people, no matter their differences, feel welcome, When you reach for equity, you're striving for a system that benefits everyone, no matter their circumstance. Belonging is when this not only works, but no one feels as if their inclusion is questioned. Equity, diversity, justice, and inclusion. Keep in mind, these can mean different things to different people. It's up to us to understand that when they walk in the door, so that we can interact with and rely on one another to make them feel welcome and create the beloved community. Think about someone coming into this congregation new. Someone who might feel a little out of place, a little different coming into our doors, wondering if they will feel welcome, wondering if we'll offer more than just diversity. If we offer them inclusion, equity, maybe even justice. Wondering if they can belong. We need to remember that they will enter with tentative steps, trying to settle in. Maybe they'll slowly lean into the blessings we offer. What we need to do, respect them, try and understand them. What we need to do is offer them a full and complete seat at the table. In doing so, we offer them true, authentic, beloved community. So may we always be. Amen.
Please join us in our final hymn, 1014, Answering the Call of Love. We're singing verses 1 and 3, Rise as you are willing and able.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Our closing words were written by Unitarian Universalist religious educator, credentialed religious educator, Teresa Youngblood. May you be invited to the party. May you be asked to dance. May you be amazed to learn that your own precious heart already knows and leaps to song. And in this moment, whirling in the expanse of affirmation of all creation, an embodiment of the divine's boundless love may turn you and face the door, arms outstretched to sing wide welcome to every changing song of togetherness to those who haven't yet discovered us. They too can belong. Amen. Could y'all hear it out here?